Shinnecock Hills Golf Club, Southampton, New York, one of the oldest and most unforgiving golf venues in America. The Atlantic wind comes off the water in unpredictable gusts. The narrow fescue fairways punish any misfire, and the greens, set high on glacial ridges, are among the fastest and most treacherous the game produces. This is a course that does not negotiate. It does not accommodate. It simply reveals whether a golfer is good enough. The 2026 U.S. Open arrives at Shinikok for the 6th time in history, and on paper, it has everything a major should have. Scottie Scheffler, the world #1, arrives chasing the career Grand Slam. A win here would make him only the 7th golfer in history to complete that achievement. Rory McIlroy enters with 2 major titles already in 2026 and is pursuing a 7th career major, which would move him into extraordinarily rare company. The international field is loaded, the course is ready. The storylines are real. And then the absences started arriving. 3 of them. 3 names that in any other era, in any other circumstance, would have been automatic entries to the conversation. Their absence does not break the championship, but it changes it. It removes something from the atmosphere that is hard to define and impossible to replace. What does a major mean without the legends who helped build it? That is the question this U.S. Open must answer. And to understand why it is even being asked, you have to understand one thing first: who the USGA actually is and what authority they hold. The United States Golf Association answers to nobody, not the PGA Tour, not player agents, not television networks, not public sentiment. It is one of the few governing bodies in professional sport that operates with a kind of institutional indifference to external pressure. And the U.S. Open field is where that indifference shows most clearly. There are 4 primary pathways into the U.S. Open field. The first is a top 60 world ranking, which provides automatic entry. The second is a qualifying exemption tied to recent major titles or significant tournament wins within a defined window. The third, and the one that makes the U.S. Open uniquely democratic, is 36-hole qualifying, which opens the door to any professional willing to earn their way through a brutal elimination process. The fourth is a special exemption, which the USGA grants so rarely that it functions more as a statement than a policy. USGA CEO Mike Wan made the organization's philosophy explicit when asked whether legends might receive invitations to Shinikok. "We're fairly stingy in the world of exemptions," Wan said. "We pretty rarely give somebody a path. We're the most open championship in the game, meaning that about half of our field comes through qualifying. That framing matters. Shinikok already offers more qualifying routes than any other major championship. The argument, as the USGA sees it, is that a spot here is earned, never gifted on reputation alone. A name does not get you through the door, a score does. 3 legends hit that wall in 2026, and each story is completely different. Before the names, it is worth sitting with what is being lost. Shinnecock Hills is not just difficult. It is historically significant in a way that very few venues on earth can claim. It hosted one of the 5 founding championships of American golf in 1896. The layout has been refined, expanded, and perfected over more than a century. When the U.S. Open comes here, it carries a weight that the game's other venues simply cannot replicate. The 2018 U.S. Open at Shinnecock, won by Brooks Koepka, produced some of the most ferocious conditions ever witnessed at a major, with greens so fast that afternoon scoring essentially became impossible on Sunday before the USGA intervened to add moisture. That controversy, paradoxically, only deepened Shinnekok's reputation. The 2026 field on paper is one of the strongest in years. Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Tommy Fleetwood, and Xander Schauffele are all in the field. The Sunday of the 2026 U.S. Open final round happens to fall on Scheffler's 30th birthday, June 21, 2026, giving his Grand Slam pursuit a genuinely cinematic dimension. This is what a major is supposed to be. It is not just about who wins. It is about who is in the arena. The storylines that unfold between the first tee shot Thursday and the final putt Sunday depend on who is present. And then the absences started arriving, names that belong in a field like this, at a venue like this. On March 27, 2026, Tiger Woods was arrested near his home on Jupiter Island, Florida, following a 2-car rollover crash. Officers responding to the scene documented in body-by camera footage that Woods admitted to taking medication. 2 hydrocodone pills, a powerful prescription opioid painkiller, were found in his possession. A breathalyzer test returned a blood alcohol level of 0.00, meaning alcohol was not a factor in the incident. Woods refused a urine test. Woods was charged with DUI with property damage and refusal to submit a DUI test, and he subsequently pleaded not guilty, demanding a trial by jury. This was not the first time. In 2017, Woods was arrested on a DUI-related charge near his home, an incident that also led to a period of rehabilitation, and a treatment program for managing medication and a sleeping disorder. Following the 2017 arrest, Woods had sought professional help and entered inpatient treatment to manage medications as well as the manner in which he dealt with back pain. Days after the 2026 arrest, Woods announced he would be stepping away from golf indefinitely. He subsequently flew to Zurich, Switzerland, where he entered a rehabilitation center to address his physical and psychological needs. He missed the Masters. He missed the PGA Championship at Aronimink, and there was never a realistic path to Shinikok. Woods' 10-year exemption from the last of his 3 U.S. Open wins ran out in 2019. His 5-year exemption for his 2019 Masters win expired in 2024. He competed at Pinehurst in 2024 after the USGA granted a special exemption, but that goodwill does not carry forward automatically, especially not under the current circumstances. Woods chose not to pursue qualifying for the major at Shinnecock Hills. USGA CEO Mike Wan addressed the situation directly. "I'd be super surprised about Woods' return to Shinikok. It would be wonderful for the event, and if he was ready, it would be wonderful for him. Obviously, what he's going through is much bigger than golf. He's proven before that when he puts his mind to something, he's going to be great at it. I don't think he's going to play in any 2026 USGA championship. If he ends up playing in USGA championships, great." Woods' last U.S. Open appearance came in 2024 at Pinehurst, and he has not made the cut at a U.S. Open since 2019. This marks the second time since he began playing majors in 1995 that he has missed all 4 major tournaments in consecutive years. He also missed them in 2016 and 2017 due to back injuries. The missed events in 2026 will make it the first time in Woods' 30-plus-year career that he has missed all 4 major events in back-to-back years. For a generation of fans who have associated the U.S. Open with Woods, with the supernatural 2008 Torrey Pines performance on a broken leg, with the 2000 Pebble Beach obliteration, with the image of him winning through pain while the world watched, the idea of Shinikok without him is genuinely disorienting. Wan's words were not just procedural, they were truthful in a way that golf rarely is about its own legends. What he's going through is much bigger than golf. That is where Tiger Woods is right now. Not on a golf course, not in qualifying. In a rehabilitation facility in Switzerland, dealing with something that no exemption can address. The Tiger Woods story carries tragedy. The Phil Mickelson story carries something more complicated. The specific cruelty of golf's longest-running unfinished chapter arriving at its apparent conclusion at the exact venue where it once came closest to resolution. Phil Mickelson has 6 major championships. He has won 3 Masters titles, 2 PGA championships, the Open Championship at Muirfield in 2013. He has done things on a golf course that most professionals never approach. And yet, through the entirety of his Hall of Fame career, one major has remained beyond him, the U.S. Open. He has finished as runner-up at the U.S. Open 6 times, a record that is not just a statistic. It is a monument to sustained excellence combined with sustained failure at the one moment that mattered most. Riverside in 1999, Bethpage in 2002, Olympia Fields in 2003, Shinnecock Hills in 2004, where he finished behind Retief Goosen on a day when he genuinely appeared to be winning. Winged Foot in 2006, when he made one of the most devastating final hole errors in major championship history. Marion in 2013, 6 times second, never first. The U.S. Open is the only major Mickelson hasn't won, having famously finished second a record 6 times, including at Shinnecock Hills in 2004. The return to Shinnecock Hills in 2026 should have meant something. The venue where Mickelson once came closest, his last legitimate chance at a course he knows, in a championship that has defined what is missing from his career. Instead, the USGA denied him access. His 5-year exemption from winning the 2021 PGA Championship has expired, and the USGA did not extend him a special invitation for the U.S. Open's return to Shinikok. Despite his record 6 runner-up finishes at the National Championship, he did not file an entry to attempt to qualify. The reasons for Mickelson's absence from competitive golf in 2026 are layered. Mickelson has spent much of 2026 away from the golf course, citing an ongoing family health matter for his extended absence, which began in February. His attorneys released a statement. Any misunderstanding has been cleared up. Phil continues to attend to a family health matter and is uncertain when he will be able to return to professional golf. Separately, reports emerged that Mickelson had been expelled from a San Diego golf club over alleged inappropriate conduct with a female employee. A situation his representatives disputed, but that nonetheless added to the weight of an already complicated absence. His only competitive start in 2026 was a tie for 48th at LIV Golf South Africa in March. USGA CEO Mike Wan, when asked about the possibility of exemptions for either Woods or Mickelson, was direct. "You probably know this more than anyone, because you're probably a better student of the game than I am, but we're fairly stingy in the world of exemptions." Wan had, in 2025, left a door fractionally open, indicating that the USGA would review the Mickelson situation for Shinikok. Mickelson never walked through it. He didn't qualify. He didn't apply. The door is now closed. The pursuit of the US Open was never just a trophy for Phil Mickelson. It became an emotional identity. The best player never to win the one championship his talent most deserved, 6 times second. Now at 55, without an exemption, without a qualifying path he chose to pursue, at the exact venue where the dream came closest, the story appears to be over. Not with a victory, not even with a final attempt, just ended. If the Woods story is personal tragedy, and the Mickelson story is golf's great unfinished narrative, then the Sergio Garcia story exposes something structural, a wound in professional golf's internal politics that has not healed and may not for years. Garcia's relationship with the US Open was not defined by proximity to victory. It was defined by something rarer and in its own way more remarkable, absolute consistency. Sergio Garcia played 25 consecutive US Open events from 2000 through 2024, 5 top 10 finishes, with his best result a tie for third in 2005 at Pinehurst. For a quarter of a century, regardless of form, regardless of fitness, regardless of external circumstances, Garcia found a way to be at the US Open. That is not just a statistic. It is a career-defining marker of belonging, a man who showed up to the game's most demanding championship every year for 25 straight years. The streak ended in 2025, and the manner of its ending was brutal. Garcia bogeyed the 36th hole in the Dallas final qualifier last May, falling one shot short of a playoff, one bogey, one three-putt on the final green. 25 years of consecutive appearances ended not in retirement, not in injury, but in a single bad swing on a hot afternoon in Texas. Then came 2026. Garcia, now 46, returned to Dallas Athletic Club for another attempt to qualify for Shinnecock. He was not without confidence. He had just finished runner-up at LIV Golf Virginia, one of his best results in months. He was one of several LIV golfers attempting to qualify for the third major championship of the season. He shot a strong opening round, but in the afternoon, on a course playing considerably harder, his score deteriorated. Garcia needed a score of 3 under par to make the playoff for qualification, but he could only manage a round of 1 under par to fall 2 shots short. The streak is definitively over. For the second consecutive year, Garcia will not be at the US Open, and here is the structural truth underneath that result. Garcia cannot fix this by playing better golf alone. The barrier is not skill, it is architecture. Since Garcia joined LIV Golf, his world ranking has dropped from contention to 396th because LIV Golf does not award official world golf ranking without DAWA points. Garcia cannot earn automatic entry into the US Open via top 60 world ranking. His only remaining route is qualifying, at 46, against a younger field that has everything to gain and nothing to lose on a single day in Dallas. The USGA created 2 LIV-specific exemptions tied to the top performers in LIV standings, but Garcia did not finish high enough in LIV's rankings to access them either. The USGA did not close this door to Sergio Garcia personally. The structure he signed up for did. The tour he chose quietly eliminated the world ranking currency that had opened major championship doors for him throughout his career. That is not a judgment on the decision itself. It is a description of the consequence. After playing 25 consecutive US Open events, Garcia missed out last year after a bogey on the 36th hole. Now, a year later, he missed again, this time by 2 shots. And there is no obvious mechanism for this to change while LIV Golf continues to operate outside the OGAR system. At Shinnecock Hills, where 5 top 10 finishes represent a body of genuine achievement at the national championship, Garcia's name will not appear on a tee sheet for the second straight year. Step back from each individual case and a pattern emerges. Not a conspiracy, not a single decision, but an accumulation of different forces arriving at the same destination. Tiger Woods is absent because of personal choices and their consequences, complicated by the physical deterioration of a body that has been through more surgeries than most athletes could survive. His story is, as Wan said, bigger than golf. It is a story about pain management, about addiction, about what happens to athletes who redefine human performance and then live inside bodies that carry the cost of it. Phil Mickelson is absent because of a combination of factors. A tour switch that complicated his relationship with the USGA, a family health situation that removed him from competitive play at the precise moment. He needed to qualify, and the specific cruelty of a U.S. Open exemption structure that does not account for all that a career means. His 5-year exemption expired. He did not qualify. The door did not open. Sergio Garcia is absent because the internal war in professional golf, the LIV versus PGA conflict that consumed the sport for years and produced settlement that satisfied lawyers more than it resolved anything, has structural consequences that continue to eject players from the major championship stages they spent careers building. He cannot earn ranking points on the tour he plays. Without ranking points, the U.S. Open door stays closed. 3 different reasons, 3 different kinds of loss, but together, they represent something the sport cannot ignore indefinitely. Shinnecock Hills will produce extraordinary golf this week. Scottie Scheffler carries a 15% win probability as the consensus favorite, seeking to become the 7th golfer to complete the career Grand Slam. Rory McIlroy, carrying the momentum of 2 major victories in 2026, is the 2nd favorite. The championship will be contested, it will be dramatic, and a new name will eventually lift the trophy on that hilltop in Southampton. But the championship will unfold without 3 men who defined what the U.S. Open looked like for the last 2 decades. Without the player whose U.S. Open record, 3 titles, 2008 Torrey Pines on a broken leg, belongs in a category of its own. Without the player for whom this specific course represented the nearest thing to a breakthrough he never achieved. Without the player who showed up to this championship every single year for a quarter of a century. Golf at the highest level is a sport that celebrates its history while operating structures that are slowly making that history disappear from view. The USGA operates by its rules. Those rules exist for legitimate reasons. The most open pathway to a major of any championship, earned entry rather than reputational exemptions, qualifying that is real and consequential. None of that is wrong. But the cumulative effect, in the summer of 2026, is a Shinnecock Hills U.S. Open that will take place without Tiger Woods, without Phil Mickelson, and without Sergio Garcia. And that is a fact that deserves to be named clearly before the championship begins and the cameras go elsewhere. Drop a comment below. Which of these 3 absences changes this U.S. Open most for you? And do you believe professional golf has the will to fix the structural issues before more legends disappear from the stages they helped build? This championship starts June 18. The story is not finished, but for 3 of the sport's most significant names, this chapter already is.